That looks better. Apologies, I was just checking the sound there. Great, good to see some of you've joined in already. Hope you're all feeling good. The lockdown isn't driving you too crazy. I guess we're all really blessed with this great weather, and hopefully you can get out for a walk even if you are not able to get into a garden. We're very lucky having a good sized garden now for a toddler to run around in as well as ourselves. So it's nice to get some fresh air and feel the sun on your skin. Okay, so what I'd like to do this morning is a fairly gentle, slow flow from that point of view. It's gentle because it's fairly slow, with a few options for some challenging postures if you want to take them. But as always, move safely within your own body. Don't do something that feels painful, certainly not pain. Some stretches, but not pain. They shouldn't pass over into a pain sensation. Or if you feel unstable and it doesn't feel comfortable in the body to do a posture, then of course back off and regress. And the great thing, in fact, a few people have messaged me to say that they enjoy the fact that they can pause the video, have a little rest, or maybe skip back and go back through over a posture. So obviously that's something you can consider yourself as well. If you find one of the postures is a bit more challenging, or if you're not quite sure what I said, then you can recap over any points just to give yourself a bit more information, which can be a great thing to do. So there's always a silver lining, of course, in these situations. What I'd like you to do is to set up the first posture. So we're going to take a few moments of quiet or preparation in child pose today. So child pose, if you're not familiar, it's not an easy posture actually. It's certainly a posture that's very different, experienced very differently in each person's body. To set up the posture, start off on your knees, have the big toes touching if you can get them to touch or close together. You can have the legs together at the knees as well, or a little bit of space between the knees. Sometimes helps to make it a little bit easier to achieve. And you're going to gently move the hips towards the heels without feeling like they have to touch the heels. The hips don't have to touch the heels. So moving the hips back. And we'll start off with the head low. And if you can't reach your hands back because your head is floating off the floor, then instead use your hands to support underneath the forehead. So it's useful, especially in this preparation, to get a restful place for the head and neck. So floor or hands, whatever works for you today. And then settle in, close the eyes. Trying to release around the lower back. Trying to release up the mid to upper spine as well. So allowing your shoulders to drop, especially if you have your arms reaching backwards, you can let the shoulders drop towards the floor or rounding in the upper back. Let the head rest, release the neck, close the eyes if you haven't already, soften the face. Relaxing the face, relaxing the jaw. And feeling the breath in the stillness, feeling the movement of the breath, even though the body itself is still. It's a great posture to feel your breath actually. Feel the feedback of the abdomen and the ribs pressing into the legs. And you might also begin to feel the breath at the back of the body. So there's space for the back side of the body to expand or widen as you breathe in. But let's see if you can slow the breath down. A little bit slower than your natural breathing pattern. Without forcing that, so without making it a huge challenge, but instead allowing or sort of relaxing the breath, if you like, to a slower pace. We're going to stay in child pose. We're going to stay with the hips back or down, and then reach just the hands forward. So change the hand position so that the hands now come out in front. Your hands pressing firmly to the mat. So there's an effort now with the arms. Hands out, shoulder width apart. The head may or may not touch the floor, but working to extend your arms. And as you press the hands firmly, widen the space across the back of your shoulders. So widen or pull the shoulder blades wider without bending the arms. So if the arms bend as you do that, reaffirm the straightness of your arms. Stay here for 2 more breaths. In through the nose and out through the nose. In through the nose and out through the nose. Steady, slow breaths. Okay, from here, we're going to move on to the hands and knees. So lift the hips over the knees. You can pad up the knees. If your knees are a bit sensitive, you could have a blanket, or you could fold your mat. Actually, this is a nice little trick that I might not have showed you before on the videos. So you can fold your mat in the middle and give yourself what would be basically a triple layer of mat if you need it. It's quite handy if you don't have anything else close at hand. But when you bring yourself onto your hands and knees, keep the hips over your knees and now reach the hands forward. So we're reaching way past beyond the level of the shoulders. Both hands reaching out back to shoulder width, pressing firm, just like the previous posture, the previous version of child pose. Letting the chest drop towards the floor without forcing. Releasing the neck a little bit. The head may or may not touch the floor. Try to keep the shoulder blades widening from each other, and again reaffirm the straight arms. Encourage the lower front ribs to lift upwards. So rather than arching the back a lot, try to lift the lower front ribs towards the sky. Draw the belly into the spine. And see if you can keep the steady breaths. Can be a challenging posture. It looks really simple, but it's a really great way to warm up the arms and shoulders, thinking about how we move into downward dog, which is actually going to be the next posture here. Anyway, great thing is you can choose how intense this is or how much you need to back off for your practice. Let's slowly release. So bring the hands back underneath the level of the shoulders. Tabletop still, we're still in tabletop, but the wrists under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. And again, with the hands pressing to the floor, tuck the toes. This time, hover the knee, so weight into the hands and feet only, and then pressing the chest towards the thighs. So notice how I'm purposely keeping my knees bent. When you first start practicing downward dog, it's worth keeping the knees bent until you feel that you've got the space in your spine or the space in the back of the legs to get them straighter. The posture isn't about forcing the legs straight, but rather the extension of the spine, lifting the hips up as high as you can. So of course, some of you will be naturally more able to do that, to get the legs straighter, but leg bent is not a problem. It's would be my preference actually for you to keep your knees bent. Steady breaths. In through the nose and out through the nose. In through the nose and then out through the nose. We're going to lower the knees back down all the way to the floor. Then we're going to step the right foot between the hands. So bringing the right foot forward rather than bringing the hands back. So what I'm trying to say is don't skimp on the length of the lunge. Rather than stepping halfway up to the hands, drag that right foot forward. It will make it more intense for some of you who are tight in the back thigh, but that way you're going to get enough sensation and enough balance actually as well. So what I would like you to do here is sink the hips without forcing. And what you can also see is that the right knee is directly over the right ankle. Right knee over the ankle. If the foot was further back, it would be beyond the ankle, okay? So the right foot steps up, hips low. Let's keep the hands on the floor, and you can use the fingertips if it's hard to reach the floor. And then with the hips down, lift the chest. And again, pull the shoulders back down from the ears. Chest expands forward. So actually this position, you're trying to draw the shoulder blades towards each other slightly. Steady breaths. Again, can be a big posture, but you can lessen the intensity of this posture for your own needs today. And then releasing, we'll move the hips back, press the hands and drag your right knee back to tabletop position. Let's go second side. Left foot steps up, and again, drag the foot forward manually if you need to. So scoot the foot as far forward as you're able to comfortably make your foot so it's about the ankle is roughly underneath the left knee here. Hips sink down, hands stay connected to the floor, fingertips if needed. Lift the chest, lift the chest. Hips low, chest lifts. Helps us to create the sensation around the hips, the back thigh, maybe for some of you, the left buttock, maybe for some of you, or both areas. Steady breaths. And then releasing again. So send the hips back, place the hands to the floor, drag the left knee back to tabletop position. We'll take another downward dog from here. So it's worth taking downward dog several times in a yoga practice rather than holding it for an extended period of time. So hover the knees, press into the hands and feet, press the chest back. As you're getting a bit warmer, you might find the posture begins to evolve a little bit. Press to make the arms straight and then widen across the back of the shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades widening from each other. Steady breaths. In through the nose and out through the nose. And then let's try stepping the right foot between the hands from here. And again, you might find the foot doesn't make it all the way to the top. Have a go. Try and step up. This is something that does take quite a lot of practice, in fact, years of practice. If the foot doesn't make it, again, you can drag the foot up. This time, keep the back knee lifted. You can bring it down if you need to get the foot forward, but then re-straighten the back leg. So tuck the back toes, and you can keep the fingertips down on the floor if you can't keep the palms flat to the floor. The right knee is bent, stacked over the right ankle as before, but just the back leg lifted. Make the back leg firm, straight, so the hips are sinking without collapsing. And then lift the chest again. Lifting the chest, shoulders back. Steady breaths. And then we're going to place the hands to the floor. So send the hips back slightly, place the hands down. Slightly different maneuver, just something to try here, is when you bring your right foot back, instead of bringing it to the floor, moving to downward dog with the right leg lifted behind. Just had to check my space then. I wasn't sure what was behind me. So tentatively lifting your right leg back and lifting as high as you feel comfortable to move to.
Even if the foot isn't high, see if you can get the right leg straight. All of a sudden, we can feel the power of the arms in this posture as well. Let's lower the right foot to the floor for downward dog. And then we'll step the left foot forward between the hands. So the left foot steps up. And again, drag the foot forward if it didn't make it there in the first instance. The knee over the ankle, back leg firm and straight. Hands down, but fingertips if needed, and then lift the chest. Hips low, but chest lifts, firm back leg. And then releasing. So bring the hands down as you send the hips back. And remember, we're going to fly that left leg high towards the sky. Extending leg. You can keep your other right leg bent still, doesn't have to be straight. So don't force the hamstrings to overwork here if they're not ready. But see if you can make the back leg straight, even if it's not really, really high. Let's lower the left foot down carefully to the floor. So have the feet hip width apart. Let's take a couple of breaths in a conventional downward dog. So quite often in flowing type yoga practices, it's quite a modern thing really, but we tend to lift the legs and step forward with momentum. And we're going to try that now from here. Okay. So we're going to switch to bring the right foot from the floor, lift the leg, look forward, breathe in. And as you breathe out, step the right foot between the hands. You might find, if you're lucky, that you can, in fact, try that a couple of times. You might find you get enough momentum to bring the foot further forward than what you would have otherwise. And it's all part of the practice, of course, stepping the foot between the hands eventually, and then lowering the left knee down this time. So we're going to lower the left knee, sink the hips, but then begin to lift the hands. So find your balance. If you feel very, very wobbly, have the feet, 2 feet, and the front foot and the back knee hip width apart, so you can keep a width to your stance. Hips low. Inhale, reach up with the arms. Extend through the spine. Lift the chest and arms. Maybe look up. And then we're going to twist. So we're going to keep the hips low. We're going to bring the hands together. Breathe in. Twist to the right. So hook your left elbow across to the outer right knee or thigh. Now, I like to manually bring the left arm further over. I can get a deeper twist if I assist the position of the left arm as far across as I can. If you can't get the elbow across, take the left forearm across. Press the left arm into the leg. Twist to your right side. Press the 2 palms together. Press and turn the chest to the right. Steady breaths. It can be quite challenging to breathe in a twist, so notice what's happening for you. So the hips stay low and twisting to the right. Let's release, press to the hands. Now you can press and extend the right leg, to the sky if you want to. If you're feeling pretty good in taking this 3-legged dog, you can join in, or you can take a step back if you find it's too intense. And take the right foot to the floor and then switch sides. So left leg, inhale, lift the left leg high if you're joining in with the lunge position. Let's practice a few times. Exhale as you step the foot forward between the hands. So there's a certain momentum that offers you having the leg high to start with. Remember, look forward and you're bringing your shoulders over your wrists. Keep the hips high as you step the foot through, with varying success each time. So inhale with the leg up and exhale as you step up. Eventually bringing the foot between the hands. Keep the back leg firm. Oh no, we're not bringing the right leg down. Apologies. Right knee to the floor. Find your balance. Sink the hips. Rise up with the chest and spine. Reach the arms. Maybe gaze. Steady breaths here. Bringing the hands to the chest. So keep the hips low. It really helps to get a good twist if your hips are down low already. Press the palms. We're going to hook the right elbow over the left knee. So you can hook across or assist the right arm to twist or take you into a deeper twist by reaching further. Press the elbow into the leg. Press the palms together. Spin the chest to the left. And then exhale, release, press to the hands. Again, you can extend the left leg high if you want to. Join in with that. And then slowly lowering the left knee, foot down to the floor. If you want to carry on with the extended legs, right leg lifts again. Look forward. This time, we're going to bring the right knee just behind the hands, actually, not as far forward as the hands themselves. So just behind the hands, just behind the wrist, the right knee on the floor. Make sure that your right foot sits slightly in front of your back thigh. So your right knee is sort of pointing out about 45 degrees towards your right wrist. Bring the left knee to the floor. So it's not quite pigeon, actually. It's not a pigeon posture exactly. It's like a pigeon lunge. It's like a hybrid posture between pigeon and a low lunge position. So what I'd like you to do is see if you can balance enough with the back toes tucked, the back knee down, and your right knee on the floor. Press into the outer edge of your right shin and foot as well. See if you can balance. Now, if you're not ready to lift your hands off the floor here, that's okay. You don't have to lift if you're not ready. You could do longer arms for this posture. You can also use your fingertips, right? If you need to, you can have the fingertips to the floor. Depending on your practice here, see if it's comfortable enough for you to reach up with your arms. So as soon as we do that, in this posture, we tend to create an imbalance, and also we tend to load up the posture, so it's harder. Muscles have to work harder to stabilize. If you're still feeling good, reach the right hand towards the floor and gently lean across to the right side. So the left arm is reaching across, but the right hand is reaching down, just in case you can't see my hands very clearly. Steady breaths, deep, deep stretch. Go up this left side, all the way up the arm, the chest. And then bringing the hands down, forward of your knee, remember, tuck the back left toes and fly your right leg high if that's appropriate for you. Again, in your body and in your space. Let's lower the right foot down to the floor. With or without extending, lift the left leg high. Exhale the left knee just behind the left hand. And that left heel sits in front of your right thigh, so lower your right knee down. I like to keep the right toes tucked, the back toes tucked for this posture. Remember, it's not quite pigeon, it's a hybrid between a low lunge and pigeon. The left shin, the left knee on the floor, the right knee, the back right foot, toes tucked. You don't have to lift up here. You can keep the hands down for stabilization. And of course, you want to feel stable because you want to feel safe doing this. If you feel like you're going to fall over, I don't want you to hurt yourself here. So lift up. If you are able to, you can reach with your arms, extend the spine. There's an active effort to keep pressing down through the legs as you reach up, extend up through your arms and chest. And again, if you want to take the side position, this is a bit of a challenge here. So this is where you choose whether it's right for you. Left hand is going to reach down, might not actually touch the floor, which I guess is actually a little bit harder if you can't reach the floor. Right arm reaches across. Don't have to touch the floor, but know that that might destabilize the position. You can have the hand on the leg, hand on the hip. Lean slightly to the left with your right arm reaching across. Let's exhale, release. Both hands to the floor, press to the hands, and when you're ready, when your body's ready, tuck the right toes and lift the left leg. So it can take a little bit of time for the body to adjust after such a big stretch. Feels good though, right? Now it feels good. And lowering the left foot down, back to the floor. So taking downward dog for 2 breaths. And then look forward. Now, you're going to work to bring both feet to the space between the hands. So keep the hips high, walking the feet. You can come up on to the fingertips as you move the feet further forward. Try to get to the space between your hands. Now, I'm purposely not quite at the front of my mat here today. So if you are at the very top, just scoot yourself back. I'd like you to have a little bit of space ahead of your feet. Your feet hip width apart. Let's fold here. Let's relax down. Bend the knees. Hold the elbows or hold the forearms, each hand clasping. And then see if you can soften out the shoulder joints and relax the neck. Add a little swaying action. Gentle swaying side to side. And then releasing your hands, bring the hands to the hips. Bend in the knees as you rise, standing all the way to the top. And take a few breaths to recover if you feel a little bit dizzy upon rising. Let the breath settle. Okay, we're going to balance here, which is one of the reasons why I needed you to have a little bit of space out in front. What I'd like you to do is shift the weight to the right foot with the hands still at the hips. Lift the left knee to where you feel comfortable to bring the leg to. Let's stay here for 2 more breaths. And it's from this position we're going to flow or transition to the next posture. Quite often, the flow or technique to move between one posture or the other and the other is the most challenging part of the class rather than the postures themselves. So I'd like you to go nice and steady and slow. We're going to bring this left foot behind. So bend your standing leg a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of suspension if you like.
as you step your left foot wide behind, as far back as you feel comfortable to go to, so that you can move to warrior one. Now, if you've done warrior one stance before, you'll know that your back toes face forward. It's not too short that you can't lunge down, but it's not so far back that it feels like you're really deeply stretching. You want to feel a bit of sensation in the back thigh, because you're going to keep the back leg straight, back heel lengthening down. The right leg, the front knee, is bending more, so that it feels like you're almost 90 degrees on the knee, but it might not be quite that low. And then reach up, breathe in, reach up. Maybe look up. That's bringing the hands to the hips. So we're going to transition back up to stand with the balance, with the weight in the right foot only. So we're going to reverse that stepping action, but float the left foot from the floor. So you're going to balance and stay standing on your right foot. So bend the knee, of course, as you're doing this. Lift the left and bring the left knee back up in front. Steady yourself with your breath. And then place the left foot down to the floor. We're going to go to the second side, of course. So prepare the standing left foot. Stand tall, lift the right leg foot when you're ready. So roughly at the level of your hip with your right leg, your right thigh. And steady breaths. So thinking ahead, what's happening? How are we going to move in order to stay as in control as we can, but moving slowly. So when we move slowly, that's where most of the challenge appears. Bend into your left knee. Keep the hands at the hips for balance. And then begin to step your right foot out behind, depending on, again, how it feels here. You're going to move weight back into the back heel, sink the hips and rebend the left knee for warrior one on the second side. Warrior one, reaching up with the arms. You can tweak the feet, like it doesn't have to be perfect positioning. Tweaking the feet to make it make sense for your warrior one, what you prefer to practice, how low you prefer to practice in this position, how low you can bend your left knee, your back toes facing forward. And we're going to prepare to exit in the same way we entered, hands at the hips. We're going to stand on the left foot only, of course, so prepare the left, bend your knee, and begin to stand back into the balance. So short, connected postures, flowing, is a great way to build up your flow practice. Resting the foot down. We're going to do the same movement with the legs, but with a little bit more of a challenge, because we're going to move the arms around at the same time. So you can keep your hands at your hips if you feel that you're not ready for this challenge, or you can practice it again. You can pause, you can practice and practice the second part after you've sort of got a little bit more familiar with the first part. But otherwise, we're going to stand on the right foot again, lift the left knee to hip height, exactly the same preparation. If you feel good, reaching the arms up. So inhale, reaching up, exhale, breathing out here. Inhale, exhale, step the left foot back and find your balance. Trickier with the arms overhead. Inhale, bend the right knee, lift up through the chest. And we're going to prepare to move to the front of the mat again. So look forward, bend the right knee, lift the left knee, lift up through the arms.
And then bringing the hands maybe to the chest initially, and then resting the hands at the hips as you lower the left foot down. Okay, we'll go to the second side with the arms included for those that are wanting to join in with this. So again, prepare, lift the right knee, reach up with the arms. So breathe in as you reach up, extend. So if you feel a wobble coming on, lift higher. So if you're going to fall upwards, right? So it's that idea. Reach higher if you feel wobbly. Inhale. Exhale, right foot behind. Bend the left knee. Inhale, reach up. And if you can, keep your arms overhead as you're stepping back up. Lift the right knee to hip height. Nice and controlled. Bring the hands to the chest as you lower the right foot down, hands at the hips. Check you've still got enough space at the front here. Inhale, both arms reach up overhead. And as you exhale, you can take the hands forward or wide and fold at the hips. Bend the knees, lengthen down, reach the hands low, floor, legs, whatever that is. Halfway lift, inhale. And then bend the knees to get the hands to the floor and step yourself back. First of all, into a high plank position. And then lower the knees into a half plank position and guide the chest and hips to the mat. Press to the hands and knees and sit back in child pose, possibly with the knees a bit wider, so a little bit more restful, knees wider if it feels good. And again, let the neck release the head on the floor or onto your hands, slowing the breath down. And then release. So we're coming up. We're going to stay seated though. We're going to come to some seated postures, or laid down postures actually, strictly speaking, not seated. Scoot the hips to the middle of your mat and lay down on your back. Comfortable neck and head. Moving any obstructions out of your way. Let's start with the feet to the floor and then bend the right knee into your chest. So lift the right foot, but bend the right knee in close towards your upper body. And circle that right knee. So circle at the right hip joint. Use your hand or arms if it helps. Imagine that you're stirring a big pot of whatever floats your boat, right? Always used to say, yoga teacher training, porridge. I think it's because porridge is stiff and sticky and viscous. So it kind of makes sense for me in my body to think of porridge at the hip joint. And circle the other way. Change direction on the same side. We're still on the right leg. We're going to stay on the right leg until we finish this sequence of postures, strung together. Okay, and now as you bring the knee to center, do your best to hug the right thigh in and see if you can hold your right big toe. So I've got the first two fingers, we sometimes call this the peace fingers, first two fingers hooked on the inside of the big toe. Firm grip. Now, I like to hold on the inside of the leg. For me, that makes the most sense. But go with what feels comfortable. Have a think about what feels most comfortable. Easiest to reach, actually, for yourself. Now, I want to keep the shoulders, the right shoulder down and the head down on the mat if you can. And play around with getting the right leg straighter. I might not go straight. Certainly, if you're holding the foot, you might find the leg doesn't go straight. Okay, so steady breaths. See if you can work with some sensation on the back of the leg without forcing. So have a softness to the lifted leg. And now let's stretch out the left leg. So left heel forward. That might make that stretch on the right side a little bit stronger, or across the front inner thighs, pelvis. I'd like you to make the bottom leg straight, so push the left heel forward. And now we're going to use this lifted leg to twist. So we're going to bring the right leg across. So I like to take the left hand onto the outer left shin or knee. I've let go with my right hand here. And we're going to turn onto the left, outer left hip. So we're going to bring the right leg across to the left side. And then see if you can settle your right shoulder in the direction of the floor, even if it's not actually in contact exactly. But turn the head to the right side as well. So right arm reaching out, the head gaze towards the right, and the right leg over to the left. So twisting, of course, through the spine, the hips. And then exhale, release, and coming to center. Bring yourself onto the back body, bring both feet to the floor, even yourself out momentarily before we take the second side. Okay, left knee draws in. Again, thigh close towards the upper body. Hook the leg in or squeeze the leg in. And then circle the knee. But of course, we're circling at the hip joint, really. That's what's going on, of course. Deep in the hip, sticky joint maybe for some of you, or maybe you feel a bit warmer after the practice and after the postures. So stirring your pot, bubble up, whatever feels appropriate for yourself today. Circling and changing direction the other way. Mm-hmm. Great. And when you're ready, bring the leg back to center. Left hand, left first two fingers. Hook on the inside of the left big toe. Start with the left knee bent, the thigh close towards you. And again, I've got my left arm on the inside of the leg. It just makes the most sense for my hips and legs. And then leg is extending, but don't feel it has to go straight. But see if you can keep your left shoulder down, your head down. Some of you might be straight or straighter. And then lengthen the right heel forward so opposite leg extends. Put the effort in to push the heel away, the right heel away. And we're going to set up the twist here. So I like to change hands, right hand across to the outer left leg, release the left hand, turn onto the outer right hip to let the left leg come across, and then bring your left arm across. Even if the left shoulder isn't quite on the floor, encourage the left shoulder to settle down. Turn the head to the left. And slowly releasing to lay down on the back of the body, even through the balance of the shoulders and the hips. Let's start with the knees bent and have the feet, walk the feet wide as your mat. So walk the feet wider than your hips. You're in the center, your feet as wide as your mat. Or if you don't have a mat, just a bit wider than your hips is great. Bring the hands onto the belly, around there, just to sit just below or around the belly button area. Let the elbows rest on the mat. Again, check the back of the head is relaxed, and the shoulders. Allowing the breath to gradually slow down. So feeling the breath slow down. Literally palpating the breath in the hands. So feeling the breath entering, the breath leaving the body. So feeling it from an external point of view, but also, of course, feeling it from your internal awareness, internal sense of safe space and movement. Encouraging the breath to relax down to a steady, slow, and most importantly, natural breath. So it's your natural breathing rather than a conscious mental process. Let the body breathe. And it's natural, involuntary process. And when you feel that the breath is settled right down, you can keep the legs as you are. You can change them if you want to bring the legs out to an extended position. Let the feet relax outwards with the legs extended, and taking the hands away from the abdomen out to the side. So the feet are wider than your hips, and your wrists are probably wider than your mat, at least sort of just off the mat, if not more than that, to feel that you have space around your upper chest and your upper arm. If you haven't already, closing the eyes, relaxing the face, feeling the breath slow down even more. Allow the weight of the body to sink back down gently into the mat. So sinking with each passing out breath, sinking deeper, deeper into the mat. Remaining still, and just your awareness comes back in. I know we're tempted to move straight away, but noticing your sensation, noticing the sensation down at the hands and feet before you move the hands and feet. Noticing the fingers, the palms, the toes, and the soles of the feet. Notice the heaviness of the hands, the feet, and the limbs themselves, the whole limb. And then beginning to move. So begin to wake up, moving your fingers and toes, stretching to move your wrists and maybe your ankles.
eventually, when you're ready to move more, bending your knees. Either bringing the knees into the chest or just the feet to the floor is a really good way to release the lower back from being flat. So what I'd like you to do is join me in the process of sitting up. Now, we can all sit up, of course, however we need to get there. If you need to do it your own way, do whatever you need to do. But otherwise, I'm going to invite you to roll over onto whichever side means you can see the screen. So roll over to one side, your lower arms support your head for a few moments. So let the head be rested, the neck rested still. And what we try to do here is begin to elevate, but using your hands and arms, let your head stay low for as long as you can. So you're going to use your top hand to press to the floor. Of course, you can use your legs here. Use your bottom hand, elbow and a hand as you need. Keep the head down. Let the spine and neck relax. So you can come to sit without any undue strain in your neck, eventually sitting upright, cross-legged or otherwise. And the head is lifted, but without too much effort. So there's an extension of the spine again, and the head can balance. Come back into your space, the awareness of your space, your surroundings, the sounds. Bring the palms together, hands at the chest, and let the head gently bow to the heart. And so thank you for your practice today. Thank you so much. Namaste.